It has been the subject of a lot of Hollywood movies, from escape pods that take the president away to safety to refueling mid-flight. Hollywood has done it all. Air Force One has been used in a lot of pulp culture and is the subject of a lot of speculation. But how does it really look inside the iconic blue and white planes? Let's find out and go inside the $3.2 billion Air Force One. This is everything you need to know. So I said planes, right? That's right. The iconic blue and white Boeing 747 is very recognizable. But did you know there isn't just one of these planes but two identical planes? It makes sense. The President of the United States needs to be ready to go anywhere at any given time, sometimes without notice. And all aircraft need to have routine maintenance done on them, otherwise they would just become seriously unsafe. So, having two planes means that if one is unable to fly, the President can still use the other one, never leaving the President without wings to get where he or she needs to be able to go. The name is important. But really, Air Force One is any plane that the president gets into. A little two-propeller aircraft would be called Air Force One if it was carrying the President of the United States. It is technically only a call sign that is used to show that the plane is carrying the Commander-in-Chief. In 1953, President Eisenhower was on board a plane called Air Force 8610. When another plane entered his airspace, it caused some confusion as the other plane was called Eastern Air Flight 8610, a name very similar to the presidential flight. So the name Air Force One was born to make sure that air traffic control and everyone else would always know exactly which plane was carrying the president and to make it easier to control safety measures. There's also an Air Force Two call sign for when the vice president is flying anywhere. Marine One is the name when the president is taking a helicopter. But when there's no president aboard, then the planes go back to being called by their tail numbers. So really, Air Force One could take a president to some destination, but if the same plane takes off without the president, then it is no longer called Air Force One. What were some previous presidential planes? A while before the Air Force One call sign was adopted, there were presidents who used air travel to get around. Franklin D. Roosevelt was the first president to fly while in office. He took a commercial flight to Morocco during World War II. Then an aircraft was built for his use. It had a stateroom and bathroom and even an elevator to help raise the president's wheelchair from the ground into the plane. Roosevelt only used it once, but the Scared Crow, as it was called by journalists, stayed in service to the president until this first Harry S. Truman administration. Truman had a dedicated plane that was much bigger than the Scared Crow and had better technology on it. It had more powerful engines and could travel much faster. It remained in service until Eisenhower took office. It was during his office that the call sign was officially changed to Air Force One, with quite a few different planes since then carrying that name. The Kennedys had a big hand in the modern Air Force One we know today. While John F. Kennedy was president, the planes used to transport the president changed a lot. Before him, planes were only really used to get the president at the time from one place to another. But President Kennedy had a vision of a plane that was like an airborne version of the White House. The first ever jet that was specifically built to be used by the president was delivered during this time. Jackie Kennedy, the First Lady, along with designer Raymond Loewy, designed the interior of the plane as well as the exterior. It was the first time the blue and white color scheme was used on the plane. It would become a symbol of the power and the prestige of the U.S. and its presidency. It also became a symbol for sadness when President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas in 1963, and Air Force One had to carry his body back to Washington. During the same flight, Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as president. The current planes are massive. The current Air Force One planes really are more like presidential mansions. The only difference is that they fly. It is huge. It has 3 levels and a lot of space. It has everything from bedrooms to offices and everything else the president or those traveling with him would ever need. The plane has around 4,000 square feet of floor space. That is way bigger than most of our houses. It has all the rooms to make it comfortable and practical. Not only does the president have his own office, he has a gym, his own room, and bathroom where he can shower, and a conference room. There are more rooms for those who travel with him and common spaces where everyone can sit together to work and relax. The plane has 2 kitchens, and I'm pretty sure it is not just the normal, everyday airplane food that gets prepared there. They make sure to stock all the favorite snacks and food that the current president would want. It has a medical room, almost a mini hospital, where there is always a doctor available to take care of any emergency that could arise. But the most important room would be the command center. Air Force One is is really a type of safety bunker where the president can be taken during times of crisis for his safety. It is made out of materials that could even protect the people inside during a nuclear attack. The command center has everything that the president would need to stay in command of the country during an attack. When the president was kept in the air during the 9/11 attacks, there were a lot of problems with communication. This made things incredibly hard. Now, there are 85 telephones on board, as well as multi-frequency radios and Wi-Fi, and of course, all the communications equipment is advanced and secure. All the electronics on board are protected against electromagnetic pulse. So, Air Force One has all the technology to make sure that the president can stay in contact during any event and can make the decisions from wherever he is. The planes are also safer and faster than most planes. It has been called the most secure aircraft in the world and has a lot of safety features. We don't know what many of those safety features are because they are classified, but what we do know is that it doesn't have an escape pod for the president to travel in. Sadly, this one just comes out of the movies. It can fly much farther than a lot of planes with just the fuel it has, but in theory, it can stay in the air forever. It can be refueled while it is flying, so it has an unlimited range and can just keep going. This feature has never been used, but it would be seriously cool. They also have their own staircases and automatic equipment to loan luggage. This keeps the contact with ground crew to a minimum to ensure that the plane is as safe as possible before takeoff. It is during the time that the plane is on the tarmac that it is at its most vulnerable. It is much safer and more secure when the plane is in the air. The Air Force One planes get replaced around every 30 years. All aircrafts get too old to use at some stage, and even the state-of-the-art planes that the president uses are no exception. Eventually, it becomes too expensive to keep them in good working order and to keep them safe, so they need to be replaced. And that is where we are at the moment. The planes that are in use at the moment go back to the early 1990s, and it is time to replace them with newer models. The new planes. It is expected that the new Air Force One planes will be delivered around 2024 or 2025. President Trump has already started working on the project during his time in office and made some major changes. For example, he decided to change the color scheme on the outside to red, white, and blue. Many critics have said that this new design looks a lot like his own personal planes. So, we will have to wait and see if the current president decides to stay with those colors, go back to blue and white that the planes currently have, or chooses something else entirely. But the planes will have a lot of new gear that are mostly classified. We do know that these new planes will be much better for the environment and have better fuel efficiency. There will still be all the same parts of the current planes installed, for example, a medical facility, and we know it is going to cost a lot of money. The owner manual alone is said to be costing $84 million. It has to be said that there have been some cost-cutting efforts made with the purchase of these new planes. For example, some of the features from the current ones will be left out. It has been noted that these won't be able to refuel in the air. They are using existing planes and modifying them instead of building special planes from scratch. In any case, besides the price, no one can deny that the Air Force One planes are truly iconic and magnificent. I can't wait to see the new ones. I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time.